Hey guys, welcome to the Spotlight. You're sitting in the studio, hashtag Magna on air, magnasearchgroup.tv. We have a special guest in the studio today. Business owner, entrepreneur, founder and CEO of Commercial Fleet Financing, financing large trucks and automotive vehicles all over the country. Matt Manero, welcome to the Spotlight.
Welcome, Matt.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Perfect. So we've got Matt Manero. His company is one of Inc. 500's 5,000 fastest growing companies in America as of 2014. So it's a really exciting time for us to have him on the show to talk about some grit, some success, how to be successful, how to manage it all, how to hire great people. So we're really honored to have him. So I guess the first question, Matt, is who's Matt Manero? Who are you?
And my story is probably similar to most people in business. I mean, it's a very blue-collar, grassroots effort. Started the company 20 years ago, bootstrapped it from zero. We'll now do $100 million a year. We've done over $1 billion. I started it. And wow, it's a very similar entrepreneurial story, though. I mean, come from nothing and just nothing but showing up every day, working my tail off to build something meaningful. And then you look up one day and you say, wow, we actually did something pretty special here, you know? Cool. But for 15 of the 20 years, you don't know that. You're just grinding it.
Just grinding.
So Matt, what is the size of your current company today?
Well, we run 4 companies here. They're all vertically integrated into the transportation equipment space. The combined fundings, annual fundings, is $100 million plus. And we have about 35 employees that generate that income. We also have our own network that we started earlier in the year, which is a whole spin-off. This is our first non-transportation related business, which is growing substantially. We're now actually in the media business, which I had no intention of being in the media business, but we are now in the media business. I was just in New York for a couple days, doing Fox News, doing ABC News, doing Good Morning America.
Oh, wow.
And all of that comes from the exposure of the network. It doesn't happen without the exposure. And so you got to do stuff.
That's the CFF Nation you're talking about, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. What is the CFF Nation?
So it's our it's the first online digital network to inform, educate, and in the transportation industry. And the original intention of CFF Nation was to drive traffic back to our finance company and display educational videos about equipment financing, but nobody seems to care about that.
No, it seems like a very unique business. It seems like you're in a very unique business, Matt. Now, do you work mostly with brokers or third-party brokers, or mostly just independent trucking and transportation drivers?
Yeah, so we're an end-user-based company. So Bubba of Bubba's Trucking is our desired customer.
Okay.
Right.
Now, we will work through the dealer who may be selling the new Peterbilt or Big Rig to Bubba, but that's a very small portion of our business. So we make our money on the phone. Our guys make a lot of phone calls every day in here. We work our existing customer. We have over 5,000 customers on our books currently. We've talked to, it would have to be hundreds of thousands of customers over the years. And, it's a very grassroots sales organization, a very aggressive company culture in which we want our people to want more. If you come into my organization and you don't want to double or triple your income, you will not do well here.
You'll not survive.
You just won't be happy here. It's just not a place to coast.
Well, the only way you can grow and develop your business is by hiring employees that want more, right? People that are willing to pick up the phone, get attention, and drive revenue.
So what do you look for when you hire great people over at Commercial Fleet Financing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in how do they get along with others, right? Mm-hmm. Because not only is our business model a niche business model, but I think our company culture is so I need guys and gals. I have both men and women in here on the sales side, and they both do extremely well. So there's even though it's a blue collar based industry, there is no separation in that regard. I just need people who are the ideal guy for us is someone who works at Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or GE. They're a reasonably good producer over there under a lousy comp plan, and they come into our office and do that much volume or a little bit more and probably make 2 or 3 times what they would ever have made in bank. So that's our ideal guy. I want to steal him from a large bank. He probably has lot of ideas that he wanted, probably didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
He's probably just maybe a little bit stagnant in his career there, very unsure of where he's going to go. That guy can come into my office and just tear it up.
Absolutely, absolutely. So do you put people through a sales training program, or do you look for people with that sales instinct, that sales mentality?
Yeah, 3 interview process in here. The first interview was with me one-on-one. Mm-hmm. The second interview was with everyone else in our office. So they get to talk to everybody else in the office one-on-one, and that goes from operations to sales to HR to IT to marketing. They talk to everybody. Right. And then if we like them and they like us, we invite them back for the third interview, in which we give them customer service surveys. So we'll pull the last 50 deals that we did, and that guy or gal will get on the phone and call that customer and ask them, did you enjoy your experience with Commercial Fleet? Would you do business with us again? And they get to hear, what does the customer say about doing business with us?
So they can believe in it when they sell it.
It's exactly right. And you know, you guys tell me how many companies do something like that for a new employee. I want him or her to understand that we're not selling snake oil. Our customers enjoy processes. Benefit for us on that third interview, I get to hear them on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody can tell you they can make 150 calls a day until they actually have to start making a few calls.
That was me. That was me. When in my interview here, I was like, yeah, you know, I've cold called before. I can do it. Yeah. And probably for the first 30 days, I just got hung up on nonstop and couldn't do it. But what do? You grind through, right, until you become an expert at whatever it is. No one was born an expert, right? So. You see what you're doing there.
So that's great, Matt. So you really put them through some rigorous training, some rigorous interview process. We totally respect that. The only way to really dig into a true sales guy's potential is to put them under the gun and to really hear what they have to say about your customers. So we respect that. So what made you get into the transportation business?
Yeah, I went to a lousy college to be a chef. Mm-hmm. No direction. I had no role model in my life.
Can you still cook?
I do. I love to cook, but there's no money in it unless you're Bobby Flay or Emerald, you know. But when I went to cooking school in the late 80s, it was not cool to be a chef. There was no Food Network. There was no celebrity chefs. It was way before that time. It was where all the losers went, right? And I was one of those guys. I mean, my real dad left my mother and I, when I was 6 months old. I never saw him again. She got remarried to a guy who eventually adopted me, but it was always a strained relationship. And so I never had a role model, and I floated around and did whatever I thought I could do to get ahead. And then I landed a job working in this industry, and I ended up getting transferred to Dallas, Texas. I became #1 sales guy. I ended up getting transferred to Dallas to open up our office for a 1-year deal. And then I was supposed to move back to headquarters. And the minute I got here, everything changed, the budget, the goals, all the plans. And I said, you know what, I can do this on my own. And I left, and that's what I did. And I started it out of my 1-bedroom apartment with a phone and a folding table. Wow. No clients, no money. Watched my car get repossessed right out of the window of that 1-bedroom apartment. And I walked to the Shell gas station, which I had a Shell gas card. And I used the last $40 I had to my name on that gas card to buy Frosted Flakes and milk. And I came back to that apartment. This isn't how it finishes for me. I'm going to turn this thing around. And that's what I did.
Wow, the American story.
Yeah.
It is the American dream.
If I can do it, guys, anybody can do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, we totally respect that. And so you've started CFS financing. You've taken your business into a variety of different verticals. What piqued your interest in tapping into other markets? Was this a marketing play for you, or were you just thinking big? You wanted to be in every market. You want to touch as many people as you possibly can and help finance as many vehicles as you possibly can?
You know, my life was going pretty well. The business was doing, after about 18 years, the business was doing $36 million in funding. And then I read a book called The 10X Rule by a guy named Grant Cardone. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
Yeah, I've read it.
Yeah.
So I read the book, and it was like just pouring jet fuel on my fire already. And then in the next 18 months, we went to $100 million. So It took me 18 years to go to 36 million. It took me 18 months to go to 100, because the bottom line is I just wasn't dreaming big enough, man. I thought 36 million was all the money in the world. I mean, I thought I'd made it.
Yeah.
I had no clue that you could grow a business 200% a year. I mean, it was completely out of my sights. And now once you do it, you say to yourself, well, hell, that wasn't as hard as I thought. Why did it take me 18 years? Now where do we go, right? So now we got sights on 250 million, maybe $1 billion. I mean,
nice.
If you can do 100, why can't you do 250? It's sort of like to a guy who's making money. If a guy can make 100, he can make 200. If a guy can make 250, he can make 500. If he can make 500, he's got enough smarts to make $1 million. And if you can make $1 million, you can make 10 million.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so are you guys are you regulated then because you're providing financing? Is that something that you have to deal with?
Fully licensed. Yeah, fully licensed and bond. All my businesses fully licensed and bonded by the state of Texas.
Okay. Interesting.
And you only do business in the United States, or are you into Canada and Europe as well?
We will fund dealers who sell equipment in Canada, but the end user, the payee, must be in the United States.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense.
And how do you protect yourself against not getting paid back?
Well, I mean, you're in the credit business, so you have that. I mean, that's the game.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so
it is the game.
We always, from the beginning, I believe that in my industry, that credit drives the transaction. So we only have gone after better credit customers. They may be small and medium-sized business owners, but they all have good credit, and that helps us against it. Obviously, you got to put away big money in reserves because losses do happen.
Yeah.
And that's the shell game, right? That's the juggling act of how much business can you do at spreads big enough to offset the invariable losses and have enough left over. And I think over the years we've done a very nice job of managing that. But there's a ton of companies that don't.
Yeah. And in order to manage that, you obviously had to bring more employees into your company, more contractors or more people into your business.
You also have to bring systems, though. We're a very systems-based business, right? I mean, you got to have very good systems that make it very easy for you to figure out the analytics and the data that tells you there's a potential problem, right?
Yeah.
When the check doesn't clear, you know, we're on the phone real fast.
So when you started, I guess after the gas card at Shell and the Frosted Flakes, and you started building this, who were some of your mentors, or how did you learn, or was it just all by trying, doing, failing? Yeah,
I didn't have any, none. I had one customer who was a trucker, a born and bred Texan. This fella was, there was no reason for the two of us to be friends. I grew up in Connecticut. He grew up here in Texas. He was about 25 years older than I was. And I remember calling him one day and telling, his name was Bobby, of Bobby Whitfield Trucking. I said, Bobby, it's over. I mean, I'm completely tapped out. I'm going to close doors. And he point blank said, you are my finance guy. You're not going anywhere. I'm buying a piece of equipment. You're going to finance it and you're going to make it. And, that was another one of these sort of wake-up calls for me that, hell, if this guy's believing in me, I should start believing in myself. And, I just wrote this book, The Grid, and chapter 1 in The Grid is all about self-esteem and the importance of self-esteem. And I didn't have a lot of self-esteem. And Bobby had more trust in me than I had in myself. And that was another one of those watershed moments where I turned it back on. And then, interesting side note on that story, but we ended up Bobby and I did a lot of business. The business began to thrive. And then I got a call from his wife in the early morning. One morning, she told me he got killed in a car accident the night before. And I was 28 years old. I started the company, I was 25. I was 28. And she said something to me that he and I never talked about. She said that if Bobby always told her that if anything ever happened to him, I was the first phone call she was to make and that I would make it all right.
Wow.
And so I did. I went in there, and she didn't want to run the trucking business. I went in there and I met with everybody, and I cleaned up the business and the financial statements, and I made thousands of cold calls to trucking companies until I found one guy in Kansas who was interested in buying it. And he came down to Texas and he bought that company for $1.8 million. Not all the money in the world by a long stretch, but enough to keep her going. That was her take out of it. And it was just game on after that.
That's another watershed moment for sure, where what you're doing is actually making a difference, and who you are is someone of value. And I think that's so much more important than the word success, right? So that's a great story.
You don't always know it. This guy had more confidence in me than I had in myself, and I think that's the lesson to anybody coming up, man. You got to get that self-esteem thing right.
Yeah. And you obviously got to stay motivated all the time. And that'll lead me to my next question, Matt, is how do you stay motivated each and every day? What motivates you?
How do you show up?
I'm kind of blessed with what I call a constant state of pissed offness.
I feel you.
I'm never satisfied ever. And I probably now have a lot of things that I should be satisfied about. I'm very happily married for 17 years. I have 3 incredible children, and I have thriving businesses, but I'm never satisfied with it. And I also have a little bit of a wake-up call recently in that my brother-in-law was diagnosed with cancer about a year ago. 46 years old, kids, no health insurance, no life insurance, and $100 in the bank when he got diagnosed with it. Wow. And when you see that stuff staring you in the face, guys, you ask yourself, what is enough, right? I mean, when it happens like that, I mean, don't you want to remove money from the situation completely, right? Don't you want to leave your potential widow, which unfortunately he died about 2 months ago of that cancer? Don't you want to leave him with, you want to leave them with abundance, man. You don't want to leave them with a little bit of life insurance. You want to leave them with so much money that it doesn't impact what happens. Yeah. Right? They can take that. You were so successful about caring about them that you could leave them enough that money no longer plays a role. And those are real driving factors for me, man. But I'm sort of blessed with it. I'm just an underdog from the very beginning, and I'm never really satisfied with anything. How do you manage it all? How do you manage everything? Family life, work life, How do you keep it all together? You don't. I mean, it's not perfect. You don't. There's a lot of pain and suffering, man. There's no question about it. What you have to do is you got to get very good at allocating time. And you have to also move into this new arena that I don't think a lot of people do, is that you have to really value your time. And you have to recognize that, you better be doing high value activities all day long. Yeah. Right. And a lot of people just don't get that, man. They just think that activity is production, and it's not. Right. Yeah. You actually have to deliver. You can't just show up. You must. Scoreboard matters in everything. Absolutely. Absolutely. Be pushed to be number one. So what would you say, in all of your experience, success, failures, what was your biggest mistake throughout your career? I made all of them. Every last mistake you could make in business. I think my biggest mistake, though, to be honest with you, was getting lousy advice that I believed early on, from people that were really looking to protect me, but it was bad advice. Stay small, stay under the radar screen. Only one hand works the register. All that hocus pocus. Don't trust anybody in business. It's all garbage, man. You're never going to be anything if you don't build a team and have people that you can trust around you. You'll never make it in business. You might make a living for yourself as that one-person operator, but you're never going to make it big. It doesn't work like that, man. Yeah, you need people around you. So my answer to your question is, I didn't trust people early enough, and I never found that mentor until, probably 4 years ago, when I found a few people that I could really trust. And so I had bad info, and I believed it. Yeah. Any books that have helped? So I know 10X is one for sure, but any other books that you're into? Yeah, I mean, I have an insatiable appetite for that stuff. I probably listened to thousands of audio tapes. I've read hundreds, if not thousands, of books. By far, without question, the most impactful book on my life was The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Period. End of story. And I've read them all: the Zig Ziglars, the Hopkins, the Brian Tracys, the Wayne Dyers. I mean, the list, the Harvey McKays, all of them. I love the Harvey McKay stuff. Another great book, maybe even for your listeners or your audience, is by Steve Schiffman, Cold Calling Techniques That Really Work. That got me really good on the phone very early. And that book's been around 20 years, and it's still spot on, one of the best. Hey, cold calling's never going to die. Do you agree? I think it's more important now. I mean, everyone, I say to my office, excuse the French, but I tell the guys in my office, I say, emails for pussies. Yeah. Stop freaking sending emails. Yeah. Pick up the damn phone. Why? Because your competitors aren't picking up the phone. Rory, how many unsolicited emails do you get from salespeople pitching you? Hey, I'd like to get 5 minutes of your time to talk about this. And I respond the same every time. Pick up the phone and maybe I'll talk to you. Pick up the phone and make the call. I feel you, man. I feel you. Yeah, honestly, all the time. I get solicited, people banging on my door each and every day. And I'm often trying to recruit the people coming in banging on my door because 1, they've walked into my business. 2, they've taken initiative. 3, they know how to get me excited. And if they can close me, they're hired. Yeah, man. One of my best sales guys tried to sell me a copier. I said, what are you doing selling copiers, man? You need to come and work for us. Yeah. Call your boss right now. Tell him you're coming to work for me.
and your last day is today.
It's a different question, because I always take those guys, those sales guys that come knocking on the door. I always bring them in and talk to them. But that guy, that wimp who sends me the email and thinks that that's selling, I don't even respond to that.
No, that ain't even selling. That's just hiding behind email, right? You know, no brass balls, as they say. You want, if you want to generate a revenue, you want to build your business, you got to be willing to pick up the phone. Everything in life is about this, right? Banging on doors 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, getting attention.
Time is now.
Getting the right attention, rising above the noise, getting past the gatekeeper, right to the decision maker. And then pitching them your product. No, an email cannot do that. I don't think any technology can do that any quicker. I don't think cold calling's ever going to die. Our business, the recruitment industry, has been around for hundreds of years, and it's the same thing, right? You pick up the phone, you make the call, you speak to the decision maker, you're pitching your service and product, and it's why they're going to do business with you versus the other 450 people in a 5-mile radius of your business, right? So it's about, are you going to get them excited? An email's not going to get them excited. Anyone can type an email. We communication people here in my office that can type an email, but is Jason, is Rory, is my team going to get them excited about, why they should be doing recruitment with Mac the Search Group? So
it's still an incredibly high value activity, working the phones.
Yeah.
So Matt, I got to ask you, if I'm just, I did my research on your site. According to you, the first step is not the most important step. If that's the case, what is the most important step?
Yeah, so we all got bad information on that. Your mother was looking out for your best interest when she told you that the most important step is the first step, but it's not true. The most important step is the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh. The ability to stay in the fight long enough to weather the storm. And look at it from a cold calling standpoint. I mean, the biggest problem with sales guys is their inability to stay in the fight long enough to get to the conclusion. They give up after the first or second call. And guys like me, I don't have time to hear you the first time or the second time, but I need you to bang on me for the third or the fourth or the fifth time. And maybe you catch me at the right moment when I'm ready to actually listen and talk to you. You try to shoot at me one time and you're going to miss.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's not your job to get back in contact with us. It's our job to get in contact with you, right? So, you're a busy guy. You've got other things going on. You're trying to run a successful business. Sure, if we can add value to your business, you're going to listen. You're going to take the 2 minutes to take my call, listen to what I have to say. If it can add value and more revenue to your business, you're probably going to jump all over it. It's perseverance is the hardest thing to find in a salesperson, right? The person that's going to willing to persevere, the person that's going to willing to follow up. Follow-ups, 90% of closing all deals, right? Being on top of it, continually pushing and shoving and getting in front of the customer's face, and convincing them that they're doing a disservice if they're not working with you.
So you guys must face this all the time, though, as we do in our office. I mean, we spend a lot of time trying to get our guys to get very sort of in your with our potential customers, and not in an aggressive way, but I want my guys to say to the prospect, Mr. Jones, my time is as valuable as yours. So let's take 5. I promise you I won't waste it. I have my script down. I'll give you my proposition in 5 minutes. And if you don't like that, Mr. Jones, you have a responsibility to your company, to your employees, to your vendors to listen to me for 5 minutes. I mean, my guys will talk to prospects like that because I believe that if you just call and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your recruiting processes and see if you may be interested in me putting a quote on your desk, man, that day of cold calling is over.
Yeah. You've got two minutes to 20 seconds to get them excited about your service, build impulse, and
once
provide
they're
value.
Once they're qualified that they would be of interest, at that point you open it up, right? Keep them on the phone.
We refer to that as the filter, and that's another huge thing. Don't we all spend a lot of time just trying to target people that don't make our filter, right?
So
you're not the right guy.
So this is going to lead me to my next question, Matt. So if you have an underperformer in your company, or a guy that's kind of hanging under the radar, every company has their top 2 or 3 or 4 guys continually producing. Ones that are most motivated, guys that are showing up each and every day, people that are getting your physical attention, people that you want to spend your time with. What do you do with those underperformers? Do you invest more training into them? Do you set higher expectations with them? Like, what do you do?
Job descriptions are very important in our office. Everyone knows what they're accountable for as far as revenue growth and scoreboard. And we spend a lot of time trying to help those guys get to that level of achievement. And then when they don't, we pull the old GE Capital version, which is differentiation. We fire the bottom 10% every quarter. That's it. See you later.
Wow.
So you either make the cut or you don't. I mean, look, I'm not.
Sounds like Jim Patterson.
I'm not.
Average is a virus, right? Average is never going to work in a business. If you want to grow and you want to hit your vision, you want to hit your mission, Matt, you can't have average in your company. So I feel you. I respect that.
True.
But here's what's most dangerous that people don't understand about this concept of differentiation. I think what's worse is keeping an underperforming guy on, and he or she that false positive that they actually can do it. And then a couple years down the road, when they got some big bills and they got a new house and the kids in college, and then you whack them. So that to me is far more unfair than stringing a guy on or saying to him, you got to go. And listen, business today, you got to make the tough calls.
Absolutely. I'm sure you can relate, like the one time, so you make 14 calls to one customer, you never get through, but on the 15th call you get through, he's your biggest customer. How many times you hear that, right, in business? All the time. It happens all the time. It's the way it goes. It's the 7 a.m. call. It's the 7 p.m. phone call. That's when it gets done. And so that guy's looking to clock out at 5:01 is toast, man. He's just like everybody else. Yeah, average. So my thing is, Matt, do you run sales meetings and morning impacts and workshops with your guys to get them set up for the day? Every morning, 9:30 in our office, we shut the office down. We run what we call our scrum. Okay. Everyone meets. No outbound phone. Every department meets around the conference table. We review the numbers for the previous day. We'll typically play some version of a motivational video, 2-3 minutes, something like that. This morning we did, Wade, what was it called? These guys that have transformed their lives by just using a pull-up bar. So that was this morning's motivational thing. And then we follow that with a very short sales-only meeting in which we'll pick a topic. This week's topic is omnipresence, right? The ability to use social media in a number of different areas to be more omnipresent. Yeah. And then we'll do a little bit of role playing, and then the whole thing's done by 10 o'clock, and we're back to work. And how do you retain your top performers, Matt? Retaining, a lot of our clients at Magna Search Group have a hard time retaining great people. It's the war of talent out there. Apple wants people from LinkedIn. LinkedIn wants people from Facebook. Facebook wants people from Twitter. They're all fighting for the same talent. We work with some of the biggest corporations around the world. What are your thoughts on retaining great people? How do you retain them? How do you keep them excited? And do you set a long-term plan with them? What do you do? No, we do not set a long-term plan. I saw something with Reid Hoffman of LinkedIn a while back, and he had this fantastic way of hiring people, only 6-month or 12-month employment contracts, because he says he can get tremendous commitment both from the company and the employee for that period of time. After that, all bets are off, right? So I don't look at it on a long-term relationship. And in fact, my job as employer now is to give these people a better opportunity that they could get someplace else. And if I fail on that, they have every right to leave me and go do something that gives them what I was unable to give them. So to answer the question, it starts with comp. Top guys are required to make top money. If you try to shortchange your top guys, they have every right to leave. Yep. So I pay my guys very well when they produce. Scoreboard produces big income in my office. Secondly, have to do some things that keep it interesting. And so we run little competitions all the time. We have what I think is fantastic company culture, and we ask for input all the time. They are not just a sale that we forget about, and the reverse is true too. That's not an operations girl we forget about. So it's very hard though to do it right these days, because you got a lot of moving targets, and people get connected in so many other ways today to get pulled, right? Yeah. So, the whole analogy of millennials coming up, going to be for the first time in hundreds of years being worse shaped than their parents. Are you a believer in that? Do you think that's what's going to happen maybe in the U.S. or? I do. I think there's a lot of millennials who don't get it. I really do. But I also think there's this unique niche of millennials who really have some aggression in them. And a lot of it is because they've seen their parents get whacked, right? They saw their dad lose the job that he worked at for all those years. Group of millennials who are tough and scrappy, but it's a relatively small group. I mean, it is true, and I have seen it many times. A lot of millennials are somewhat entitled, and I think that it's, by the way, a very easy thing to fix, right? Yeah.
You need to have $40 left on your Shell gas card, and that takes a lot of entitlement out, you know?
I think it comes down to, as well as like the parents have done better than their parents, right? So there's been a stronger middle class, and for that reason, there's less adversity to overcome. So what are your takes on adversity? Do you think adversity sort of inspires success?
For a select few people, it does. I mean, a lot of people, you know, I love what Mike Tyson, the boxer, used to say, right? He says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the nose, right? And and it's so true. Everybody thinks that they got it figured out until it starts to get tough. I mean, that's why I wrote the book, The Grit, because the grit is what it's taken for me over 20 years. I mean, I should have quit multiple times, guys. Multiple times I should have thrown in the towel, but I just kept showing up every day. And that's what it takes. So adversity is part of it. The ability to pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you face the adversity, dust yourself off, get back up and do it again. And I'm not talking about do it again like next week. I'm talking like do it again on the next call.
Yeah. Sounds like you don't think 30 days, 60 days ahead. You think, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do tomorrow? And how am I going to increase revenue and bring it into my business? How's it going to happen?
Successful guys don't start diets on Monday.
No.
Right? They start diets today. They're fed up. They start today. So that stuff is, you know, there's no reason to wait for anything.
They want results and they want answers today, you know, in the shortest period of time.
So what your guys must struggle with too, and Rory, I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this, but one of the things that I have spent a lot of time on trying to get my people to think like rich guys, because the rich guys that we're calling on, the good credit customers, even though they're small businesses, they're good, they're pretty solid guys. If you as the salesperson look subservient or feel subservient to that customer, you're going to have a much tougher time relating and closing that deal. So do you feel that too, that you know, one of the things is we've got to start believing that we are equal to the people we're calling? Yeah,
that's confidence. And an only way a sales guy can feel confident is winning, right? Going back to I can let Jason answer this question because he's the prime example in my company.
Let me take this one. So when I got into this, I was the typical salesperson where I've never actually sold anything.
You weren't a sales guy, let's be honest.
I could sell everything was what my mindset was, which is literally what every person who's never sold shit will tell you. So when I hopped on the phones, obviously, you know, a bit of a struggle. I remember Rory one day goes, call the CEO of this company. Here's his number. And I remember looking at him like, what? You want me to call the
He was sweating, man. He was sweating.
The CEO? Like, you know, maybe in person I could go up to him and like, you know, it's a bit easier. But on the phone, you know, you got to paint this picture. And I absolutely bombed that call. But then, you know, with all the practice and everything where you just sort of hit yourself in the chin while you're looking in the mirror, once you get that mindset that anything is achievable and that, you know, when you do call, I close them, right? So now I can close a CEO because it happened once. And the reason it happened was because I went in there prepared enough to just pretty much rely on a script and you know, just get that sliver of opportunity. But now since it's happened, I can do it all the time.
I think the biggest thing in business, which a lot of companies undermine, is that they got to see the owner and the CEO produce. The number one thing, if your team can see you produce each and every day and produce more with more responsibility, there's absolutely no excuse that they can come in and say, I can't do this. They got to see a win early. They got to look like $1 million, and they got to be prepared for that call each and every day. And just one is take an action, pick up the phone, make the call. I'm sick of hearing about research. You don't need to research a company. You don't need to look at the job description. The person that you're talking to is not going to ask you in the first 2 seconds. They're going to care about you. Sell yourself first, get that out there early, then pitch your product. You don't need to go meet with them. Everything can be done over the phone, and, you know, build a relationship after the sale. I'm a strong believer in that too as well, Matt. You know, is you build a relationship with your customers after the sale. Once they write you a check, once they got some skin in the game from you, then you can start building a relationship. First, come in, show them value. What can you do for them, right? How are you going to get that customer excited? What can you do for them? What value can you bring to their business? What results can you bring? And then show them what you can do, right? It's like, you know, limit the research, scrap the research, go out there and get them excited about doing business with you.
The first deal is research and development, guys. The profit is made on the second deal. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
So you never get to the second deal. You're just spinning dollars. You gotta retain the customer.
Yeah. Hey Matt, what is the grit? Is that a self-reflection? Is it a bit of just, you know, sharing your challenges and sharing your successes with the world, or what sort of inspired you to write the book?
Yeah, it's not a biography or anything like that. I believe there's a real shortage of grit in most companies, in most employees, and really in most people. And so I wanted to get a story out there that could help people reconnect to the grit. Because really, in my opinion, grit kicks in when you're really in your darkest days.
Yeah,
right? It's not when you just had a few bad days or so. I'm talking about when you can't sleep, lying in bed. How are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to turn this thing around? The only thing that gets you through that is grit. And grit comes through fixing your self-esteem and skilling up and then leaving all the excuses behind.
Yeah.
Anything that you were taught or thought about, you must exit and just only go to the next level. And I believe you get there through grit. Look, the toughest guys I know, the grittiest guys I know, every one of them have had serious adversity, myself included. And without that adversity, you never test your grit. But how do you get adversity, man? You got to put yourself out there. You got to do stuff that makes you really uncomfortable. That's how you fail.
Yeah. You know, I know. I remember the days when I used to go to bed every single day. How am I going to pay the bills?
Of course.
How is my team going to get fed? And still to today, if I'd be lying if I say I didn't. But I show up each and every day with that mindset. You have to. I start every day as if I'm broke and I've got nothing in the bank account. What am I going to do to make sure my team gets fed?
Look, when you're busted like that, though, there's so much other shrapnel that happens too, right? Your inability to tell your wife about it. And I have a story in the book where I used to come home and look for a shoulder to cry on. And my wife would say to me countless times, she would say, "You're so much bigger than your business. You're so much bigger." She said, "One day you'll figure it out, Matt." And she was right, man. She knew that I was capable of so much more, even though we were doing fine.
Yeah.
I was capable of so much more. And so I decided one day to do two things. One, grow a $100 million business and shut my wife up. That was it. And I did both, guys. I ended up both. And it's been great. But look, it's not easy, man. Anyone who thinks it's easy, they don't know what they're talking about. It's hard. Running a business is hard. Growing some net worth is difficult. Building a book of customers is tough. All of it is. And if you don't enjoy that, probably being in business for yourself or working in the type of environments that our two companies are in, it's probably not the right fit.
Yeah. Else. You got to be willing to, survive the hard times. Take countless nights, it's not all about going to the beach and enjoying each and every day on the weekend. It's a commitment. When I started my business, I had to change my think, I had to change my mentality. I'm the long tooth. I'm the guy with the long tooth in this conversation. You guys are the young hustlers. And I tell you, though, the mindset is spot on. The success that you guys are having is directly correlated to this aggression and this desire to do more. Yeah. But I know just from our brief conversation that you guys back it up with care too. You can't be the way you are without delivering a high quality product to the customer.
I agree. It's like having the audacity as well to actually, achieve a better life or make more sales or make more calls. I think that comes down again to self-esteem, right? Having the audacity. Well, you need to have results. You need to be able to back it up, and you need to be able to have clients speak on behalf of your services is the key thing, right?
That always helps. Yeah.
You need it, right? If you want to line some of the biggest accounts like what we work with, you gotta have the proof in the pudding. You got to be able to show them, listen, I've done this for this customer. This is how I did it. This is why they work for me, and this is why they continue coming back. And about owning your clients, you got to own your clients. Once they start feeding you work, you got to own them. You got to take very good care of them. They're part of the family, right? They're putting bread on your table, and you got to do whatever it takes to take care of them.
So let's throw a few curveballs at them. So this one might be I foresee a plug for the book, but you're on a desert, you're on a deserted island. You've got you and a partner, but you've lost both your legs. Tragic crash. You need to get home safe and alive. What is the one specific key characteristic that you need to rely on to get home safe?
Come on,
you can tell me.
Come on,
I'm 280 pounds, man. They need to be big and strong. My wife.
I was going for grit. I was going for grit.
One sitting next to me in that situation, man. I'll probably take my number one sales guy in that. He's going to carry my.
He's got the grit. He's got the grit.
That's how that's going to go.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
What cars? What's your favorite car, Matt? What do you enjoy driving?
Yeah, that sort of stuff doesn't really appeal to me. I drive a Cadillac Escalade. That stuff doesn't really. I don't really care about that sort of stuff, to tell you the truth. My old man used to say something that was very true. He said, if you want to judge a man's wealth, don't judge what he drives, judge where he lives. And I believe that to be very true, right? Because then you can get a car payment, but it's tough to get a nice house.
Yeah. What about when you're in your car? But when you're in your car alone, what do you think about?
Boy, I tell you, I'd love to think about my wife and kids a lot, but I think about taking care of them in my business. I don't think about what's for dinner. I don't think about what the weekend looks like. I think about how do I produce more to deliver massive amounts of security for them. That's all I really think about, man. That's it. And it's not just for my family and for myself. It's for my employees, for my vendors, for customers. It's that I spend a tremendous amount of time. A couple other things too, if somebody's listening and they really care to hear this, you need to be feeding yourself very good information. You need to turn that stupid radio off. You need to turn the sports radio off, and you need to be feeding motivational stuff to your brain to and from the office constantly. I mean, I'm constantly listening to stuff.
You have to, right? And one, it's going to make you produce more in the day. It's going to keep you motivated. As an owner, I know myself, the only one that's going to motivate me is myself. I don't have my team to motivate me. Well, yes, I do, but directly, I got to be training myself. I got to be listening to audiobooks. I got to be reading. I got to be skilling up, as you say. Reading as many books as I possibly can, downloading audiobooks, and really getting fired up today, because I'm not looking for a $40,000, $50,000 idea in a book. I'm looking for a $10 million idea in a book, and skilling up and taking that information, Matt, is critical. So that's awesome that you say that. Very similar in terms. It's great to learn what he has to say, because there's a lot of stuff that he does in his business can be very relatable to our business too as well.
There's only a few guys. There's only a few ideas though, guys. Larry Winget says that if you go to Amazon, there's 2,000 books on success. Right? Well, there's only about 3, 4, 5 things you got to do.
Yeah. So why do you continue helping people, Matt? Like, how important is helping people to you?
I believe very early on in life, I believe that most people actually know what they should be doing with their lives. I really do believe. I believe that around 18, 19, 20 years old, most people actually have a very good idea of where they should go with their life. Yeah. And then they allow other influences or fear to take them down this other path. So most people live relatively unsatisfied lives, right? I knew very early on that I should have been a coach. I knew it. I remember the moment vividly with my high school football coach hammering on us in the rain. I grew up in Connecticut. I played the offensive line, just banging on us. And I remember saying to myself, I really like what that guy's doing. I'd like to do that. And then I got away from it for about 25 years, and now I'm coming back to it. Nice. So to be very honest with you, this is exactly what I should be doing. I just happened for 20 years to get in the equipment financing business, which sidetracked what I really should have done in the beginning, which was do what I'm doing now.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, my job is to help people overcome all of the crap that I had to overcome and the mistakes I made. Then no one has to wait 20 years to build a successful business. I didn't need to either, but I did.
Where do you foresee the trucking industry going? Is it going to boom? Do you think there's a disruption waiting to happen, like an Uber type of thing, or what do you think?
Product needs to get from A to B all the time, right? So.
Yeah, there'll be different ways to do that, though. We did an interview on our network with a company called Cargomatic, who is they're branding themselves as the Uber of the trucking industry, which is very interesting. Now you're just simply literally working off an app, and if you have 10 pallets of whatever that needs to be shipped, the guy will be there in 5 minutes to pick it up and take it right to the location. Yeah. So there is definitely some stuff. We've been through 3 economic downturns. 95 was a bad time to start my business. 2001, 2002 was a bad time. 08, 09 was a bad time. So every 7, 8 years, we have a real slowdown. So 16, 17 should be a little bit, if data supports itself, should be a slow time for us. But that's why we did the big growth, because I said to myself, if life is good for me at 36 million, if I get it to 100 and we get whacked to 75, life's still double what it was when it was good at 36, right?
That's right.
So everything we're doing, all of the social media, the network, all the marketing stuff, all the exposure, all the omnipresence, it's all to build an insurance policy for the invariable slowdown that will always come every 7 or 8 years in our space.
Soon you'll be financing drones, I think, Matt.
Tough to repo a drone, though, guys. Tough to repo a drone.
Just flies away.
Tough to repo a drone. My other question, any pet peeves, Matt? Do you have any pet peeves?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my pet peeves is, and I probably used to be a lot harder on this when I hear it than I am today, but people tell me that they can't do stuff. It drives me nuts. Anything is possible. Anything is possible for anyone. You just got to connect into your why. You got to figure out what the hell you're doing it for, and then have the guts to make the change if what you chose is the wrong choice, right? And what do people do? They go back to school, they take on more debt. It's so stupid. Just go find something that you enjoy to do. And I hate to say it, but the money usually follows.
Yeah.
One final question. Tell me a song that best describes your work ethic.
A song that best describes my work ethic.
Tough one, eh?
Wade says the bone by Thorogood. I mean, I would say something like, Welcome to the Jungle. I mean, I love crazy, right? I really do. I love crazy. I love the crazier the better for me. The wild, the more outlandish. I don't dress necessarily like that, but I like stuff, and I want interesting people around me all the time.
The more energy in this song, the better it is, right?
Play it louder, play it longer, all of that stuff, man.
And I got one final question for you, Matt. How do you celebrate the wins?
Okay, I don't spend a lot of time looking for reasons to celebrate. My celebrations are very small, right? Mm-hmm. But I do love spending time with my wife, 3 boys. I'm blessed. I have 3 incredible boys and a great marriage. And I love my time with those guys. And then I love connecting with people who are better than me. There are. I mean, I was just with these guys. They wanted me to join this group, and I was like, well, you guys talk about money in the group? And they're like, oh yeah, we talk about revenue and stuff. I'm like, I don't care about revenue. I'm talking about how much does the guy in the group make, right?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, well, there's 3 guys in the group that make over $1 million a year. And I'm like, well, that's probably not the group, right? I want 3 guys in the group that make $10 million a year. That's the group I want to be in, right? Mm-hmm. So I spend a lot of time looking for ways to celebrate with people who can get me to the next level, fellas. And that's really important, man. If you're hanging out with broke friends, you're going to be broke.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. You're the vehicle that you're in, or the people that you're learning from, is critical to a success of a business.
Well, yeah. Honestly, Matt, it was amazing having you on the show. It's been fantastic. Thanks for spending the time. We know you're a busy guy. I know the viewers will really appreciate it, sharing some insight on your success and your challenges and the grit required. So if you want to check out Matt's book, it's The Grit. Where can you find it? Are you Audible too, or?
We will be recording the audio version here shortly. It's available at mattmanero.com. It's $20. It has 100% money back guarantee. If you don't get $20 worth of value out of this book, you send it back to me. At least show me that you opened the cover, okay? and I'll send you the money back, because most people don't buy books. They really don't, right?
Yeah.
And follow me on Twitter at Matt Manero. Commercial Fleet Financing is the name of the company. CFFnationwide.com. I mean, you just start typing in a few names and you'll get to us. But guys, I want to thank you guys too, man. I enjoyed it. I love the energy you guys have. What you're doing isn't happening much, so keep it up.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt. Send 2 of the grits over. I haven't read your book yet. Be more than happy to read it. Send 'em over. Send us an invoice. We can talk about that after. You're on the network.
Thanks for joining us under the spotlight, Matt. #MagnaOnAir, MagnaSearchGroup.tv, Twitter @MagnaSearchGroup. Let's go. Thanks, Matt.
Keep it up, guys.
Thank you.
Too.
Cheers.